Hello everyone. Today we will bring you the American horror film, Eloise. A psychiatric hospital named Eloise was built in 1832. It was a large-scale and very famous hospital in the region. The hospital was also known, with a doctor being famous for regularly applying measures of cruel treatment and terrifying experiment on the patient. In 1982, this hospital had a huge fire. The reason was not clear, but most doctors and medical staff were killed. After the fire, this hospital has always collapsed and abandoned until now. Since being abandoned, every night strange screams came out from the hospital. There were even people who see the wandering souls of the dead doctors and nurses. The shadows wandered in the hallway. Many years has passed. The main character Martin is the owner of a car repair shop. That day, he received a call from his father's lawyer. The lawyer announced that his father had passed away. After listening to this news, instead of being surprised, he was very calm, and also did not seem sad. Everything has its reason. When he was 16 years old, the father brought him to a continuing education center for teenagers. From then on, Martin never spoke to his father again. The relationship between them became gradually cold. He went to a lawyer and listened to him talk about inheritance. He could inherit a fortune of more than $1 million. But the problem is that the father still has an older sister, his aunt. She was in the Eloise mental hospital. So what he needed to do is go to the administration building of that hospital, get his aunt's death certificate. Then that property will naturally belong to him. Without a death certificate, he was forced to wait for 7 more years for the court to declare the death of his aunt. Then he could inherit the legacy. The lawyer also added, his father did not die of illness, but committed a suicide when the disease recurred. This surprised him a little. Till night, he went to the house of his dead father. Looking around the room, the whole room kept all traces when his father was still alive. He saw a locked wardrobe. He opened it, in which was a paper box. Inside there was his father's diary and pictures of his aunt. Then he continued to go upstairs. He saw the place where his father had killed himself. The knife was still on the table. The blood on the floor had been coagulated ever since. He picked up the knife, put on his neck, looked in the mirror, and imagined his father's suicide. When he was holding a knife next to his neck, suddenly someone appeared behind him. Turning around, then he knew. It turned out to be Dell, his best friend. Two people had not contracted for 2 years. After chatting a little, both decided to leave the house. Before leaving, Dell took the pocket watch on the table. Both went to the bar to drink alcohol. Dell said that he owed people $20,000 over the past 2 years. So life was not easy. He was forced to be a petty thief. Seeing his friend struggling, Martin told him that he was going to own a fortune of $2 million. His friend could hardly believe it. So Martin explained to him his father's legacy story. He just had to go to the administration building of that hospital tomorrow to get his aunt's death certificate. Then, the problem of both would be solved. Dell happily listened. Before leaving the bar, Martin did not forget to flirt with the beautiful staff, but probably was rejected already. The next day, Martin drove to that hospital, but not as favorable as he thought. The medical record was not there, but was kept elsewhere by the chief doctor. That was where medical records were not made public. If he wants to see or take it away, he must ask the court for permission, but it would take 6 to 8 months before it could be licensed. An old woman gave him an application, asking him to fill in the information, but because of old age, so she was a bit clumsy. What he didn't know was, the paper the employee was printing was not related to the application for the death report. It was a registration form for hospital admission. The name of the disease was acute anxiety. Angrily, he drove home. But he was not careful and bumped into a cart, causing everything in the cart to fall off. He just picked up things to put in the cart quickly, then pushed it aside. When he turned around, a man appeared right behind. Startling him, he guessed the cart belongs to this man. So he hastily apologized and explained. But he didn't say a word. Staring at him made him a little bit scared. After getting home, Martin told Dell, to get a death notice takes 6 to 8 months. How could someone in need of money like Dell wait that long? Moreover, Martin himself was also craving for that huge amount of money. So the two decided to go steal the file. But the hospital was very large. They didn't know the map there. So they went online to find a man named Scott, the former Eloise archivist. He was very knowledgeable about this mental hospital. Everything was like the back of his hand. It was a wise decision to find this guy. But the weird thing was, Scott was very interested in the terrifying experiments there. Seeing this fat guy talking about horror things here made the two think that he was a psychopath. But in any case, Scott is the key to success. When we're talking, Scott suddenly called out to his sister, Pia. It turned out that it was the staff at the bar. She wanted to report to the police to chase away the two strangers. But her brother wanted to go with them. Because of worrying about her naive brother, she had to go with them. On the way, Martin asked Pia about his brother's strange interest in the psychiatric hospital. She said because their mother used to be a nurse there, but went missing in the fire that year. From then on, her brother and father were not very normal. They reached the file area. This place was old and shabby. Probably no one came, seeing a lot of jars containing ashes. Scott's cell phone even reflected a flickering ghost. There were also many dead birds, with only white bones left. They went to the filing room. This place was both dirty and messy. The important thing was it was so big. Furthermore, there was not just one room. Finding a person's medical record was like finding a needle in a haystack. While searching, Pia could not find her brother, so she went looking. Suddenly a strange thing happened. The camera suddenly flashed. In the corridor, there was only her. But on the notification screen, there appeared a lot of doctors and patients. Like a normal operating hospital, the watch that Dell dropped was picked up by a patient who wanted to flee. Pia saw babies in the room just a second ago, but suddenly in the blink of an eye, was seen in the hallway. It was an image of her as a child. Scott was immersed in red illusions, suddenly startled. Martin was still searching attentively. Suddenly he saw medical records with strange therapies. The horror process amazed him. Antagonistic method of therapy makes the patient face what they are afraid of, to overcome that fear. For example, someone was afraid of snakes. They would tie the snakes all over this person. If some were afraid of spiders, then all the spiders would crawl around them. Scott was in the photo development room. All over the room were pictures of patients who were receiving treatment. But what terrified him was, picture of himself was hung on the wall. Suddenly, 2 doctors appeared in front of him. He struggled, but was still carried on a cart. At this time, Martin and Pia found the medical records of his aunt. His aunt was really dead. It was on this day 30 years ago. As for Dell, after knowing about the loss of his watch, he started searching. Then he saw it locked in a room. He immediately broke down the entrance, unintentionally letting his hand hurt. Seeing a bottle of medicine, he immediately poured on his hand. But that was the hallucinogen drug. After treating the wound, he went to Martin and Pia. At this time, the drug began to work. Hallucinations appeared. He saw a few doctors. They kept provoking him, so he angrily pointed his gun forward. The other 2 didn't understand what was going on. Scott was tied to a hospital bed. The chief doctor appeared, said he wanted eye surgery for him. Although he was trying to struggle, but there was no way. Dell was still mad. He shot while walking, then locked himself in a room. The water came from nowhere, flowing into the pile of corpses. He panicked and screamed, but no one knew. When he saw the face floating in the water, he fell over in horror and drowned. Martin and Pia went to a large hall. They saw a picture of the nurses before. All were frantically dancing. The patients were crying in pain. Some even were beaten up. Light flashed. They were back to reality. Both awakened, looking around, suddenly saw Scott entering the operating room. When opening the door and entering, they saw him dead on the operating table. His face was full of blood. Suddenly the old man with the cart that day appeared. Pia was in pain. Martin thought he was the culprit, preparing to fight him. Suddenly time returned to the past. They both saw a bunch of doctors and the chief doctor. He forced them to be treated, wanted to tie the 2 together. Martin suffered from the fear of small holes, so he was locked in a box full of holes. Pia was afraid of the injection, so the doctor did not stop injecting her. She struggled, finally escaped, at the same time saving Martin. When they were about to run away, they both saw Martin's aunt in a room. She was preparing to have a baby. After the baby was born, all of them congratulated the chief doctor. This child was Martin. It turned out that he was the son of his aunt. And the doctor, the father he knew, was just his uncle. But sadly, his mother lost a lot of blood and died. Before she died, she asked a nurse in the hospital, who was also Scott's mother, to get him out of the hospital. She put Martin in a box, asking Pia to take him out. Both people knew the situation, helping little Pia bring him out smoothly. So they opened fire, to attract the attention of the security guards. The whole hospital was chaotic. The little Pia succeeded, giving the box to Martin's uncle. But things didn't stop there. Suddenly Martin was taken home by a nurse. That person was a mysterious old man with a cart. Pia turned back to reality. Now the police had arrived. She frantically asked the police to hurry and save him, but they assumed she was not conscious. After that, the police went to Pia, who was receiving treatment, telling her the bodies of her brother and Dell had been found. But Martin's body was not found. Her eyes were blank. Martin was probably in the hospital, and being locked in some room, enduring painful torture. The film ends here. A sad and similar ending. Like in most of horror movies, right? Every character was dead. Only one character left, who always looks far away. To this point, we hope the movie had pleased everyone in terms of how they watch and feel afterwards. Like and share to support us. Bye bye.